Commissioners, Auditor's Office hand is, you want to explain the revised, we got to you have a revised.
I give you a new sheet with the tab numbers on it.
Thank you.
Thanks. That's a lot easier.
And then I also provided, from last year's binder, I provided the 2022 property tax summary. There was a lot of questions on that, and so just for comparison purposes, I provided that. I'm not
you,
a
Jim.
tax expert, so.
Well, I appreciate
probably-
that.
I may not be doing the analyzing of it, but,
So at
And-
this,
and then-
oh, go ahead.
Welcome. To join a conference
At this
now,
time, I will
if you are the meeting host, please enter your
God's talking to us now.
And she's a woman.
And in addition to the tab numbers, there's a revision, right?
Yeah.
In the-
this one, right?
Yeah. A revision in the schedule. Didn't you say there was a couple departments switched on the second page?
oh, no,
Oh,
no,
brought
just
it up.
tabs?
just
Okay.
tabs.
Okay, at this time, I'll reconvene the meeting. It is 1 o'clock, and we are at the helm of the sheriff. But we are missing Mr. Johnson and Mr. Peck. So if you want to wait, we'll wait till they get here.
Did you want to go into recess?
Yeah. At this time, we'll go into recess until we have a full quorum of commissioners and our administrator. Okay, we're out of recess. We'll reconvene the meeting, and we'll begin with the sheriff. Proceed, sir.
Well, Cheryl became our chief financial officer and put our budgets together. I'll just make some general statements. We feel that the budget is reflective of what we'll need to operate. Tried to keep it reasonably. Obviously, there's increases. Some of the capital outlay items, they're more of a must than they are a request now. In particular, in our jail setting with the scanners that we need to install in the jail so we can stop the flow of narcotics and weapons that are coming into the jail. It's just time for us to pony up the money and let's get it started so we can try to alleviate some of our problems with narcotic smuggling and weapons smuggling that's coming into our jail system. We're asking for 3 new clerk positions, one of them being a manager position. It's kind of a twofold thing. We have a hard time, well, we can't find part-time workers anymore to work commissary and the things in the jail that actually generates funds for the county. And the proposal is we hire 2 more clerks and a manager so that we can cover all the public disclosure requests that roll in every day. I don't know if you all know how the public disclosure requests work, but they go to the prosecutor's office and then they throw them to whoever to start doing the work, and their time, especially in police work, they're really time consuming. Some of them will take months to fulfill, coming in. So between commissary, the workload of records, that's why we're asking for those 3. And then eventually what we'll do is we'll go away from the part-time workers. As they filter away, we'll try not to use them if we can all if we can all help it from happening. We've discussed some of the car issues that we're having. What we did here a couple weeks ago is certainly helpful, but you need to remember that we have to build those cars now that we have them. And then we still have more cars that will end up we haven't been able to replace. I think those 2 line items, as far as maintenance and gas and all those, are going to have to stay the same. And then we will try to be as frugal as we can with the actual purchasing line item. We don't plan on buying any new cars in 2024, but all those cars have to be built. That's roughly about $25,000 a car. So if we've got about 15 of them to do, figure that out, and we'll try to be as conservative as we can with that. Missing anything?
You hit the big one.
Questions?
I just have one. Sheriff, can you, the scanner that you talked about that would really greatly increase the safety and stuff of our officers by catching this stuff before it comes in, is there any kind of retrofitting of the building that needs to be done to put that in?
No, we'll have to figure out how to put it in at the booking area. When the officers or transports come into the Sally Port, it'll be placed right in there somewhere, and what'll happen is they'll stand inside this scanner and you'll be able to just, it's like a full body scan is what it is. And then that'll be monitored as you come through. So no construction that I know of. Steve, are you back there? Not that I know of.
And I would imagine this is something that could be put in place rather quickly too, right?
Yeah, once we get our hands on it and get it delivered, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to.
Airport.
Just so that, yeah, similar to the airport type of setup, and it's portable and you move it wherever you go or wherever you need it. It's gonna be a large item, but, same with all of our cars, just as a general update for everybody. Axiom was here for the last couple weeks, so all of our in-car videos are now installed and ready to go, except for, you know, as we change some cars out, obviously, they'll have to be reinstalled. But all of our body cameras, our evidence software, that's all now in place, to include the cameras in the cars, which is always have to be dumped every 12 hours from deputy to deputy into the system. But it's all set up and working and ready to go. And then we also use SmartForce, which is a software that we've already got that's going to help us with a lot of that stuff too. That's another software system that's been installed. So, yep, as we modernize, that helps at all.
Any other questions? Okay, miscellaneous funds. 130 through 135,
No changes.
no changes? Okay. Corrections, 540.
That's the body scanner is the only,
Oh, you've already went through that. Security and food
and the two
services.
support staff.
So you've already went through all 540, 550, and miscellaneous 134. Okay.
New positions.
And then CCOM, you already talked about it, right?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of change other than normal increases that come with dispatch and those type of things. CCOM, or 911, if you will, Cheryl's gonna be the new 911 coordinator. Rick retiring, and so she'll be taking on those duties, and then Monty will be taking on the other side of that. How come I just lost
Patrol.
that side of it? So, no real changes. I didn't, oh yeah, Lockhague, yeah, he'll be on the Lockhague group. So, but no financial changes to those things, other than the request for the input of the clerical staff position. I don't know. I haven't heard if the ban got approved or not. I know that they put it with the shops to replace a transport van that's about 100 years old, sitting out there, that we use quite often. I think he was doing that through the yards up there. What do they call that when you?
County.
ER&R. Yeah, we're trying. Yep.
We were asking for the offer.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about the off-road vehicle, right? So we've wore out our one side-by-side that we use out in the dunes, and we're looking to replace that.
With any of the funding that you've got on, because I know there was like 412,000, I think, that went this year towards several Tahoes, and is there any, do you still expect to spend your normal allotment next year? And then you still need additional for like those?
No,
off-road?
if you keep the two accounts the way they are, we'll be fine. With the requests, right. And we'll try to be conservative with the placement of cars. Now, we could also do that. We could buy, if that's what you're thinking, the side-by-side out of that money.
Because right now there's 275,000 in there before any requests for vehicles. So that should be sufficient.
Yep, we could do that. We could take it out of that as long as you're leaving that there. And that doesn't mean that we can't, if there's grants available or other things,
Why?
we'll apply. We're actually pretty good at doing grants and all that, but, yeah. And then you gotta get the side-by-side too, so, I mean, we still have that same problem. You have costs with vehicles going up, like the Tahoes, they jumped $7,000 from the ones we just bought. If you were gonna buy them in 2023 and order them, the same vehicle, it's a $7,000 jump.
But you've already ordered them, so
Got
you've locked them in for the prices that,
Got
the
'em.
25 that you're gonna need, have you locked those in on prices? No.
I'm not following you.
You said you were going to need to replace 25 vehicles.
No, I said we weren't gonna replace any vehicles because we've already bought, how many we buy? 12 Tahoes altogether that we just bought that you approved? 10, right. And 2 Fords, so 12 vehicles. So we will not order any actual on-the-road cars next year, but we still have to build all them at about $25,000 per car.
Oh, build them. That's what you were
Yeah,
talking about.
roll cages, lights,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
siren, all that, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was saying, how are you
Right.
getting a car for 25,000? That's what I thought you were saying. You were buying these for 25, but you're building them.
Yeah, I'm using the example of the Tahoes that we just bought. They're 2023 Tahoes. And I can't remember what we paid for them, but add 7,000 per car. That's what the new cost is for next year, before you even place the order. Watching at the state bids, right. So yes, the bottom line is we can get a new side-by-side and we can purchase it out of that. Foregone purchasing cars.
And then one other question on the line that I've got highlighted up there, the biennium one-time money. I know in 2021, we received that money from the state it was for dedicated law enforcement costs that we had. I think it was like for scanners or body cameras and stuff like that we had received money. Are we expecting to receive, because we have it in the 2023 preliminary, are we expecting another payment from the state?
Is that what's
Well, is
left
it-
of the money?
That was,
That's what the original rate.
Yeah, but we have it as a money coming in this next year.
I don't know.
I think it just rolls over each year and what we use, whatever.
I have the rollover of it down. This is what was left. So this is what I was showing as left as of when this was put together. But there's not new money coming in.
No,
Okay, so this amount up here should go away.
yes.
Oh, boy, that's hard hit.
Is that money that you can apply for?
I'm not sure where that money came from. Is that CARES money or
No, it was,
is it the 911 or the 1/10 of 1% law enforcement? No?
It was dedicated to, asked for us to be able to
Was
So
that-
is it-
meet those needs.
It truly was one time.
Yeah,
It's one
just
time,
okay.
and
Yeah.
it just rolls over until it's all
Till
gone.
you got it all gone.
So as new money, it should be eliminated off of here, so, yeah.
Okay.
done.
That should make you feel better for bean counting purposes, huh?
Okay,
How much of that money's left, Beans, we talked?
274, he said. He rolled
yeah.
down to it.
I haven't updated it within the last month or two, so if there's been,
Last month or
okay.
two.
So it should be pretty accurate.
Any more questions?
I have one if I could. On the security, we changed that from having outside contractors to using jail
Right.
officers.
Corrections deputies. yep.
corrections deputies. How's that working out?
Fine. Yep, if you just ignore the Teamsters union, it works just fine. Yeah.
Is it a push for the county as far as expense?
No, it's really, in the end, it's about a wash. Because we're using, what we did is we added, in order to take on those responsibilities, I think we added 2 FTEs, and they're part of our court and security squad, if you will, that we just added to it and made one of the positions a corporal position, one of the existing positions, to expand that group, to cover out there in our courts and those type of things, campus issues, for like. So yeah, it's working just fine. Haven't had any problems.
Dwayne, do we have a single-page roll-up of all the capital requests for this account?
I'm not aware. That'd be kind of more of a do we have a single page roll?
There is a page that has all the capital requests on tab 5, it looks like. Third page in,
I was just asking about this account.
The sheriff's is in it, and there's a summary of the sheriff in that. But they have specific sheets within that they submitted as well within tab 20 and 21.
So 927,500. Is that it?
No, there's 124,000 for sheriff, 240 for corrections.
Capital outlay.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, that's for the whole page, okay. So that 364 is the total capital for sheriff and corrections?
Correct. Yeah, because he already has 275, the baseline's over 275,000. So if we just use that for the sheriff purchase of 124,000, then he would only need the 240,000 for the corrections. He'd need the body scanner and the transport van, I think is what would stay.
Steve showed up back there? Yep. So tell me about the transport van. How are you trying to make that become a reality, Steve? Are you working through the county shops, or are you just trying to purchase it outright?
I've been working through the county shops with the vehicle, and at this point, I'm trying to purchase it outright.
So is the county shop saying that they're gonna buy the van? Because if it's buying the van, then you're basically renting it from the county, and you wouldn't.
Correct, and the shop is saying they do not purchase the van because there wasn't a van previous under their purchase. We have to purchase a van, and then they will charge us every month from thereafter to replace it.
I got a D in calculator math in college, but if you buy it and then you're still paying for it, is that what I'm hearing you say? You're gonna buy it and still make a payment to the shops for it?
That's what they're making us do.
Well, that'd be pretty stupid.
You're basically
That's the way it works.
making payments for the replacement of that van that you gave them.
But when it wears out, the funds are there.
It'll be for the next purchase, not for this purchase. That's what they're doing.
Because the next purchase is probably a decade or more away.
By 10 years. Yeah,
You're just hauling people around town and those type of things.
correct. Well, you'll do Eastern State. Small shuttle stuff.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Well, there is occasion that you need to look at whether you include all vehicles in the R&R, right? Because there are occasions where something takes so long before you're going to replace it that it doesn't really make sense to.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just
because then you're
used-
sitting
I'm
on your
just used
replacement.
to that, if you're going to take and get an ENR vehicle, then it's the county shops that would purchase the vehicle, and then you
Right,
would amortize it out 10 years, then you're making that
right.
part of, you buy it, and then you also make payments on it. That doesn't sound right to me, but.
And then carrying the discussion further, sometimes it makes sense not to even go ER&R with certain vehicles because they don't get replaced fast enough, yeah.
Yeah, so for the short of your answer is probably it'll get 10 years of use for it.
Very realistically, 10 years, then that's something that really should be evaluated.
Crash it or anything.
How many passengers is a transport van?
16?
16.
But we also are looking at used ones, right?
It is a used one that we're looking at.
What year was it made?
It's a 2020, and it is roughly about 38,000.
We bought a used Chevy, well, I don't even know what year that is, when I first came here, and we've used it for 8 years now.
paid 5,000
We
for
paid
it.
5,000 for it and ran the mileage out of it, so.
With the cage and
Yeah.
everything included.
I'm gonna suspect probably maybe 5,000 a year. But it has to be reliable and all those types.
Did it have special equipment other than just a welded cage to keep
We'll
people
actually-
separate?
We'll actually use the equipment out of the existing van. It's not a slide-in cage.
No?
So whatever your poison is, if you want. Tops or if you want it just violent. And we'll make sure that it's close to till the wheels fall off of it.
On average, what do you think you use it a month?
A couple times a month. A lot of them are your mental health transports, Eastern State. A higher risk.
Mm-hmm.
Not your bigger big, small loads like that.
We use used patrol cars. We push patrol cars into the.
Mm-hmm.
Big.
Bus, yeah.
Yeah, that's transport, so. That's an ENR vehicle. I'll spot that and then. Whatever you believe to be the best way.
Any more questions for the sheriff?
Tim, you made a comment when I asked you about the capital outlay requests. So 124 in the sheriff, 240 in the corrections, 364 total. And you referenced an offset, and I didn't understand what you were saying because I was taking notes. Writing when you said it. Maybe you could just tell me again what it was
I
you
was
said.
gonna show the line. So right here, he's got, the sheriff has 275,000 that rolls over from year to year. The
Where is that?
baseline's over.
Where is that?
Highlighted in green.
There you go.
Down one.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
And you're saying this rolls over from year to year?
Correct. That one is baselined over from year to year for recurring vehicles he gets on an annual basis. And so he was saying that he can use that to purchase those items off to the side there. The sheriff vehicles, portable radios, off-road vehicle, he can use the funds that's already there. So
So do we purchase vehicles every year?
Portable radio.
okay.
Yeah, depending on how much money we get, we buy six to four, because the cost kept going and.
If they're available now.
I remember us programming that forward. At least I think I do. It was not long after you got here.
Right, so we
And-
would annually replace so many cars and those.
Yeah.
It's about 6 a year, you're saying? About?
Yeah, 6 a year, and so long as you don't have, well, our problem right now was we were letting cars run too long because we couldn't get them. So we're like eating motors, like, since the last time we talked, we lost another Explorer patrol car with a sucked valve and, those type of things. So we're just trying to play catch up with all of them.
I forget, how many vehicles do you have total that come under this replacement program here? Just roughly, a couple of dozen, 3 dozen?
Oh, no, these are patrol cars.
Oh,
fleets.
okay.
Probably 40 altogether floating out there, patrol cars.
Okay. And obvious question, about how many years do we get out of them?
About 5. I think we still have what, some 2015s in the fleet. And I think do we have any 14s still? Rick, do you know?
We had 113 that's going away this year.
And so how much of that 275 this year are you using for vehicles?
None. The idea would be none. We'd buy out of that, we'd buy a side-by-side, and then we're gonna have to build the cars that we've already got that are sitting out here that need build, that we've got.
So you want to use that program 275 to equip the vehicles you've already got, not to buy new vehicles?
Right, exactly.
So that kind of suggests that we're underfunding your new vehicle program if we're not funding for vehicle and equipment. Because radios, lights, safety equipment, all that stuff add what, about 20%?
Say that's about it, Rick? About 20?
Anymore, it's about pricing, because we reuse some vehicles.
Sure.
But it's gonna be about 25 to build a $50,000 car, about 50% more.
Okay, that's what I had, thanks.
Just to clarify, because I'm still learning this, ER&R, like with most other counties, there's other cars in here than just the sheriff's cars, right?
No, this is just sheriff and.
This
jail.
is only a sheriff ER&R program?
You're not, the sheriff's office isn't.
Oh, okay, so this is just, I got you.
Purchase them outright.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
what happens when we get to rotate them out, we look at if they're good enough and serviceable enough, then we rotate.
I'm following along now,
Corrections
okay.
cars out. And in this instance, we're taking about 6 cars offline that are all unmarked cars, and low mileage that will just hand over the keys and hand over the cars to the shops.
To the pool.
and
For the pool?
For the pool idea.
Yeah, well, thank you, that helped clarifies for me, I was a little misunderstood there.
So Sheriff, on the cars that you've got to equip, you're using the cage out of the van. Do you use any of the other, out of the cars?
No, because every time you buy new cars, the diameters in the inside of them change, so you have to buy new roll cages and those type of things.
Gotcha, understand.
And frankly, after 5-6 years of service, the lights and sirens and all that are.
Yep. Okay.
When you did your ER&R calculations and decided to go this way instead, do you recall about what the annual cost was going to be with ER&R?
No, because we've never done ER&R with these vehicles. We've always just purchased them outright.
Yeah. When you first got here, I think they had you in ER&R, didn't they? No?
Sheriff Latham took them out of ER.
I remember it being expensive. I just didn't remember how much.
Well, if we didn't put so many miles on them, the most cost-effective way is to lease them. But you put so many miles on them in the county that they can't. Then you have that ER&R system that you're talking about if you lease them.
Have you ever looked at like a fleet management, like Enterprise?
That's just what I was talking about. There's companies that deal just in emergency response vehicle leases. I don't know what they are nowadays, I'd have to check, but when I was doing it for the city of Pasco, a patrol car for 3 years was about $3,000 a month. But you bought the whole thing, lights, siren, roll cages and everything. And then you had to stay within so many miles, and that's the big one, because if you go over now, if, Commissioner Peck, maybe some of the jail vehicles might have been on ER&R, but I never saw any of them when I came in.
Any more questions for the sheriff, staff? Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And your other presenter, I mean, we couldn't hardly catch a breath with everything, all the information she was throwing our
Oh,
way.
yeah, she's a chatty Cathy
He
now.
covered it.
It is nice, though, I will say in closing, to have one person keeping track of all the financials. Has the right background and education for it, so.
All righty, thank
Even
you.
I probably would have ran off with all the money by now.
All righty, so then that moves us down to, we have a break, but I don't think we need that right now, do we? We got review miscellaneous funds or postponements if necessary. Keith, I take it that would be your department?
Yeah, we don't have any postponements. Everybody showed up today.
Miscellaneous funds? Any miscellaneous funds we need to go over?
Tim, you were
A lot of the miscellaneous funds are within departments, like for
Yeah.
commissioners, it'll be in that section, so there's really not, it'd be just other stuff that needs discussed at this point, I think.
Commissioner, can I?
Yes.
Just because we're finishing so far ahead of time, I'd just like to bring this up as just a general discussion point. I guess now on top of, after all the salary grade classifications being one of the biggest issues I face with, now I'm suddenly developing a item number 2, and that's vehicles. Seems like the county's all over the place when it comes to our vehicle replacements. It's mostly because elected officials and others have different thought processes about, I don't know if a comprehensive study should be done about whether a county-wide ER&R policy would make sense. But nevertheless, one of the things that I think that does need to be done right away is for us to, my suggestion to the commissioners is that we should at least have a policy in place about the maintenance of those vehicles that are out of ER&R, that we're actually give them some kind of guidance and making sure that we're awarding that contract that was brought up about who's doing that maintenance. Maybe make sure that procurement was done correctly.
And liability.
And then the liability standpoint, that those vehicles, especially when there's the intent expressed to us by many elected officials that they don't need to get rid of these things, they can be 10 years old, that's okay. We got to make sure these things are still safe for county employees to be driving. And I think periodic safety inspections should be mandated regardless whether they want to have their own vehicles out of their own budget or not. But just a thought.
Those are being done for the vehicles that are in the ER&R.
Yeah, and Benton
Shop
County,
does those.
that's the reason why we tried to go ER&R, because those were being done.
Right.
You got that thing, and the risk pool was very happy about that. But outside of this,
Well, yeah, as we just heard, a lot of departments don't like that because they're having to buy the vehicle up front and then pay for the next one that will be purchased down the road. They think that's a more expensive option for their budget, and so they don't
and
like
it is
that.
initially.
Right.
So should this be a yearly, maybe
Well,
we
that's
should
up for
write
you
a
guys to
policy?
discuss.
What I'm suggesting though is, should we be looking at these departments having to go through ER&R for an annual inspection?
Just my own personal opinion, I would trust my shop more than anybody. That's for you guys to debate. I personally would recommend that if you have trust in and I think you guys do, that even if the assessor and sheriff and others want to have cars outside of ER&R, which is a lot larger number than I thought coming here, I think those vehicles ought to be looked at by the county shop at least periodically, just to make sure that the brake lines aren't leaking.
And the brake pads are sufficient.
Yeah, because if they're taking them to the cheapest place outside of the county shops they're taking them to Mint Lube, let's be honest, or someplace, and they don't. Yeah,
They're just changing oil.
they're
and
just changing the
filters.
oil.
They're
And
not-
I had cars outside of ER&R. I always bought my ER&R surplus car with Treasurer's O&M funds because I could get by with that because of the split county seat thing I had going on over there. And I always knew I took pretty good care of my car, so they always gave it to me rather than take it to Booker. I bought it for $1,500. But I took mine in for a safety inspection to the county shop and had that in as part of the file that they would look at it. And the rest of the time I took it to Audubon to have, which was priced out once every year. I had them do phone call bids, which is an amount that small, and made sure that that was the best, lowest and best bid. And Audubon actually wasn't the lowest, but I considered them the best because they did the best, inspection, and that's where I took them for maintenance. But just throwing out ideas to, I feel I'm kind of alarmed about how many cars I hear are outside of ER&R, and I'm saying, is someone looking at these cars, making sure they're road safe?
There's a fundamental assumption that is incorrect, and that is that the departments buy the vehicles. They don't, the taxpayers do. It's just a matter of what ledger it's on. And so whether the county moves the money into somebody's account and they buy the cars, or whether the county just buys them, either way, the county buys the cars. And then the departments pay on a monthly basis. The idea being that it's amortized, and by the time the end of use comes up, then there's another pot of money ready to buy the next vehicle. And inherent in that is that you have the recurring maintenance, the safety inspections, and you also keep your maintenance facility warm. What you don't want is to have so many vehicles outside of ER&R that you're running a skeleton maintenance facility that doesn't get the investment, doesn't have the staffing, and so forth. So
I would totally agree.
I mean, you could make it work either way. You could go completely civilian side and have it all done outside. You darn sure want to do that under contract because the amount of money and the competition for that much work would be important. Or you could do it all in-house. But a hybrid of the two, you don't maximize either one. So that's,
I see, Commissioner Peck, I see total advantage of doing a hybrid method because there are cars that fall within the standard reoccurring and they fall. There are situations to where, like, you have very specialized equipment that doesn't need to be replaced, nor do they have any desire to replace it, maybe because of the outfitting or whatever. They don't need it replaced, but every 10 years. That makes some sense to be outside of ER&R, and the reason why is we ran into this too, is they have the replacement.
Excuse me, but I think you're making an assumption that ER&R is always on the same schedule.
Oh, well, no, yeah, you could set up different rates. I guess ours was, yeah.
Yeah, put it
Yeah.
on a 10-year schedule if that's the projected life.
And the advantage of doing that is that if their funds become totally available for repurchase at year 5, and then they purposely wait, now
Well-
they don't have funds enough to buy their vehicle again because the costs of
Or you-
vehicles have gone
Or
up.
you pay less
Yeah.
over 10 years and accumulate.
Yeah.
I think the reason that we got off of ER&R with some of the departments is because frankly, when we had the embezzlement here,
Oh.
it's my belief that
That
part
could
of
very well-
that scheme, it's just my belief, I haven't, just from observing, is that funds that were supposed to be going into an amortization account to replace vehicles didn't. And that created a situation where they didn't have the money to buy replacement vehicles and departments started buying theirs. I think that contributed to it. It can be done any number of ways, but if we're gonna do any substantial amount of work outside ER&R, I don't think departments ought to just be picking up the phone and calling somebody and going and doing it. I think that needs to be a bid process. I don't know even what the law requires, but in terms of standards of maintenance and whether it's warranty or liability, I mean, you're talking about emergency response vehicles sometimes doing 100+ miles an hour. And if you're taking them to XYZ place and they're not doing a thorough job, and it's because you weren't diligent in selecting a place to have it done, you've just bought a whole heap of liability for the county when that car rolls through somebody's house.
Totally agree. That's why I brought up the point.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you
Yeah.
can do it out of house, but it's gotta be programmatic. It
Yeah.
can't just be somebody picking somebody out of the phone book. And you
Yeah.
gotta look at the risk equation that goes into it.
Well, now you're raising a whole larger issue countywide about procurement that we could do, so, in general.
We could look at our procurement policy. sure it could stand just a little updating.
All right, are we good?
I wanted to,
Tim?
I had brought in, Commissioner Peck, I don't know if you saw I brought in this rate sheet from last year's budget, and I put it on everybody's desk, just for comparison purposes on the
Probably
property
got lost
tax.
in the pile.
I haven't seen one either.
You can have this one if
Yeah.
you don't have another.
Is it this one? Estimated
uh,
collections for 23?
It should be highlighting, there should be a highlighted yellow part at the top. But just for comparison, because that's ultimately what made the budget last year, the amount there. So, I mean, the numbers could be
What are you telling me
compared to-
about this?
I haven't had a chance to pour through it yet to try to figure out the whys of it.
Okay. Just off the top, it looks like yeah. It's ordered just a little bit differently. Yeah, I'll wait to hear what evolves, but I've looked at the property tax collections for the last few years, and I've looked at the paper we went over this morning, and it still doesn't make sense how we could have the amount of new property assessment and still come in lower. But I'll just wait. I'm sure something will come out eventually that'll make it clear.
Okay. And then one other thing, Tiffany Rung, I believe is the pronunciation, from Superior Court. On Wednesday, she's scheduled, and she was wanting to do a PowerPoint presentation. So she's going to bring her own computer and get that set up, as long as there's no, I wouldn't assume there'd be an issue, but want to bring
When
that
is
up.
she scheduled?
It's on Wednesday at,
2:45.
okay.
So at lunchtime, maybe she can get set up so we don't have to wait for it, huh?
Yeah, and I talked to Julio. He said ultimately it'll be just, he'll unhook the wires from the table here so that they can just be easily moved from one computer to the other. So it should be pretty quick
Okay.
movement, I think.
Sounds good. Is there anything? Yep, tomorrow we have a night meeting, and there will be no budget talks during the day because there is a FEMA exercise. So we'll recess to the 26th at 9 a.m. So with that, we're done. I don't adjourn the meeting because we're just recessing to the 26th. All righty, thank you.